Hi, my name is Jesse at Trash Panda, and I don't know about you, but the more I play disc golf, the more I become interested in course design. So when I recently met up with Robbie C and the guys from Overthrow, I jumped at the opportunity. Because Mikey's family has a 12-acre farm that's just asking to be a 9-hole course. So in this video, we're gonna go back in time to scope the property, lay out the final design, and see what we learn in the process of designing a course from start to finish. And since this is my first time, I'd love to hear in the comments what you might have done differently or what you noticed that I might not have. But maybe wait till the end of the video because I also want to hear which hole you most want to play. Alright, let's design a disc golf course.
All right, first things first, we're playing tomorrow, so what I want to do quickly is just scope the whole property, see what kind of canvas we're working with, and see what kind of immediate course design hole types stick out to me. So we've got this bad boy, it's like 35 degrees. Let's go. All right, so we've got the house here, river here. I'm told that the far side of the property is the part we're really gonna work with, so nothing really sticks out here other than maybe some kind of long par 4 jetting around the corner with like manufactured Mando on this side and natural OB on this side with the gushing river. There is a river flooding warning today, so tomorrow might look completely different. We'll see. Let's see. Super flowy river here with a very natural green going on here. I don't know if we have any gaps, but when we get to that side of the property, we definitely need to look back at this to see what's going on. I think this would be a sick hole from over there. So we just need to see what everything looks like when we're over there. I don't see any gaps right now, so we might be losing something today or tomorrow, whatever. Right away, this looks like a sick shot too. I don't want to go with what's completely obvious, but I also, today is just scoping and kind of like planning, so I have to take note of what's obvious to get to what's not obvious. So this is very interesting. I don't know if you can see it behind me, but the top of the hill is up by that house where we came in the gate, and that is looking prime for something in this area, but that's a pretty long hole. If we have too many long holes, it won't be a fun course. I want to have a really well-rounded course, so that's interesting. We might just play it shorter from somewhere else though. This is really cool. You can see if you go long, it is not gonna be fun. The island we want to shoot at is over here, and there's like a little bit of a gap, a baby gap there. There's no gap through these trees. Oh, here's something.
Ooh.
Oh.
Oh, baby.
This might be it. It might be super short, but this is interesting. You've got a water carry here, and then you just have to choose your gap. It might be here, it might be tucked. This feels like an am pad, and maybe a pro pad steps back and makes this first gap smaller. That's interesting. There's these paths back here for the cart we're driving on, which are like the perfect size for a fairway. So this is an interesting hole where from here you only have this small gap in, but let's drive in there and see what's going on. Actually, you know what? Let's hit this area first that we saw driving in, because I'm thinking a shot going that way looks really interesting, and then we'll go back into these trees. Now that we're over here, maybe we're actually playing from up there. That's really sick too. And then you've got this OB wall on the left, but this, like, with these trees, this is a sick green. That's sick. See, I didn't see this one from up there, but now that we're here, you can see it. So That's interesting. This This is another interesting one. Rather than straight down the hill, again, we're moving around the property, so we're seeing different things. Rather than straight down this hill, maybe there's a option from here going left. So maybe we go down the hill that way and then come back this way, and the course flows too. I can't stress enough that this is not a property designed to be a disc golf course, but it's already looking like such a perfect disc golf course. And since I'm new to this and I don't have the experience, maybe as a disc golfer, every property is just the perfect disc golf course that needs to happen, or maybe it's just the perfect property. We'll say both. Coming through this path, there's some pretty obvious stuff, but this looks like it's either a green or you're coming this way as a tee pad. So let's look from down here. This is very interesting. This is looking like a really fun shot. I wish I wouldn't have parked right in the middle of the shot so I could see what it actually looked like. And maybe this property was designed to be a course without being designed to be a course. Look at this. Wherever the last hole ends, this is your path on in, and then you, come on. So the tee pad we just talked about is back there, and this is really clean, because I think we need to get this going this way from probably this general area, and this is just already designed to be a disc golf hole. The only question is, how do we get from there to here? This is gonna be interesting. The flow, I think the real challenge of this course isn't like, hey, this is a good hole. It's, if you look over here, what hole leads us here? Or are we just walking forever? So I think I wanna drive back through this the opposite way we came in, and then I really need to just game plan what the flow will be like. And maybe tomorrow, as we're designing, something not as obvious might stick out, since we already knocked off all the obvious stuff. So ultimately, we just did a full run through. We're coming in up here, so it makes sense to have the hole up there. And then we want to end by probably throwing back across. That's tricky. I don't know how we're gonna manage that. This is fun. This is really fun. If everyone could just have a canvas like this to play with, man, this is really cool.
The next morning, Robbie and Josh joined me for a walkthrough of the property to offer their opinions and honestly point out things I hadn't even thought about. And getting their feedback might have been my biggest lesson in course design, because someone else is always going to notice something I didn't. So after we finished our walkthrough, I had about an hour to finalize the course layout before the three of us went head to head. And what resulted will probably go down as 9 of my favorite holes in disc golf. But yes, I'm completely biased. Hole 1 ended up being a 499-foot par 4 with a mandatory fence line on the left side of the fairway and a pretty flooded river running along the right. The ideal landing spot was anywhere between the puddle and the tree, leaving a simple but definitely not a gimme approach to get the birdie. Hole 2 was a 235-foot downhill par 3 with 2 options: go straight up the gut or take the Simon line on the right. Hole 3 was 356 feet downhill, but due to the low ceiling and sharp left angle to the basket, this hole played everything of 356 feet, and spoiler alert, it left us all wanting another shot. Hole 4 was the hardest shot in disc golf, a straight shot. Coming in as a 176-foot par 3, hole 4 was the classic hole you call a must birdie, and we all know what happens with must birdies. Ironically, hole 5 also came in as a 176-foot par 3, but due to an open approach up to the narrow mouth, this hole truly offered dealer's choice. Pick a shot and a disc you're most comfortable with and see if you can walk away with the 2. Hole 6 was the last 2 holes plus some, meaning grab a driver, read the wind, and see how much you can bite off on your drive. But make sure you at least get around the corner on this 516-foot par 4. Hole 7 was my personal favorite. Coming in at 232 feet, this par 3 offered an advanced player really any option. I know it's a spoiler, but Josh threw a forehand driver, I threw a backhand mid-range, and Robbie threw a forehand putter. So what are you throwing? Hole 8 came in as the shortest hole on the course at 138 feet, but don't let that deceive you. The OB left, the slight crown of the hill, and the low ceiling may just get in your head. And finally, hole 9 resulted in 145 feet over a rushing river with no real gap and OB long. Think it's too simple? Well, Robbie convinced us to use a marksman basket, so think again. And that's the course. If you're interested in seeing it in action, Robbie, Josh, and I went head to head, and the coverage will be posted on Overthrow's channel. But in the meantime, here's what I learned. First, course design is super fun. Like, I went into it with really high expectations, and they were still exceeded. Second, course design is hard. Well, let me explain. Course design with one design element isn't so hard. Like, design a course with diverse holes. Easy. Or design a course that flows well. Again, easy. But design a course that flows well and has diverse holes, not so easy. And when you continue to add design elements like foot traffic, cutting fairways, spectators, weather, I can only imagine it gets even more difficult. And as for the final thing I learned, course design is not a quick process. In the future, I would much rather scope a property, get people's feedback, lay out a course, play it, change it, play it again, change it again, and so on. Because easily the thing that surprised me the most was the difference between how a hole looked versus how it played. And I can only imagine how good a course would be if you really took the time to weed through the obvious and dig up the hidden gems. But at the end of it all, designing a course was a dream, and I can't wait to do it again. So thanks as always for joining me on this adventure. Please let me know what hole you most want to play in the comments below. Subscribe to support the channel, and we'll see you next time. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to add. Designing a course is super interesting.
That's interesting. So that's interesting. Interesting. This is very interesting. This is interesting. This is an interesting hole. That's interesting. This is very interesting. This is gonna be interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.